Did you see that brand new Best of 3 logo, guys? We're moving on up. This is Best of 3. I'm your host, Efren Salinas. With me, as always, is Michael Donka Schiller and Ray, Radical Ray Chun. What's up, buddy? Ray, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing a lot better than last week, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, because last week you weren't here and you were feeling a little bit under the weather. Now, before we go any further, week 3 of Beard for Bearded Ryu cosplay. How's it going?
Every day I feel a little bit more in tune with my Shoryuken, you know?
And Ray, you're also on week 3 of growing out your beard. How's that going for you?
Yeah, you see, I've got the little stubble, so hopefully it'll transform to the peach soon.
Well, as always, here on Best of 3, we split the show into 3 segments. Round 1 is news, round 3 is an interview, round 2 is the interview, and round 3 is replay analysis. Today on the show, we have none other than NuckleDu. Du, are you there, buddy?
Hi, how you doing?
Du, we are very happy to have you on the show. Thank you very much for making the time. I know you just got back from the Fall Classic. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure.
Du, we're excited to have you on. We're going to talk about a couple of these news items, and then we're going to come back for you for a nice little
And there's
interview.
someone else in the room, too, isn't there?
Yeah, you know, before we get into it, just pan the camera over and show us who's hanging with you.
He's actually in the kitchen right now.
Well, that's all right. Prior to the show, we were having a chat.
But Tampa Bison's with me.
Did he just come back from the... there he is. Tampa Bison in the building. That's cool, man. Well, we're excited to talk to you here in a little bit, but that'll be in about 10 to 15 minutes, so stick around for that, guys. All right. Over the weekend, we had the Fall Classic. Of course, that's why NuckleDu is on the show. We're going to talk to him about it. And unfortunately, NuckleDu only got 9th in that tournament, but there was some interesting back and forth. There were the results. Do you want to tell us who won, Ray?
All right, so we actually had Snake Eyes take it over Dominion in the Geef versus Guile matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, you know, Snake Eyes dominated.
Well, surprisingly, because, as Mike, you were telling me, this is not a match that a Guile player should lose.
Typically, Guile is considered to be favored in the matchup. It's not necessarily easy due to Guile's poor wake-up and Zangief's insane vortex, but Guile's considered to win a neutral, yeah. And we've seen NuckleDu beat Snake Eyes recently, so, I mean, people were definitely thinking that, especially up a set, that Dominion would take it.
But that's interesting, and I'm glad that happened so that we can discuss it on the show with NuckleDu. The fact that which Guile is better. I mean, how do they do against the Snake Eyes, right? Anyway, that's definitely an exciting tournament. Points were won. Snake Eyes got 128 points, and Dominion got 64 points, and NuckleDu, if I'm not mistaken, got a whopping 2 points. But I was talking to NuckleDu prior to the show, and he was telling me that I guess the average that you need to get to be likely to make it into the Capcom Pro Tour is around 130, 140 points. Mm-hmm. He is already above 200 points. So if that's true, it's likely that he'll be in the Capcom Cup.
Yeah, and what was interesting was obviously, and we'll let Ray talk a little bit more about it, was the kind of started a little bit of a blow-up. I know James Chen, a few others commented on the Geef Guile matchup and pads and other various things.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of Twitter beef, not too much. Oliver Ling and James Chen are talking about Zangief and Snake Eyes, and Dominion wants to come in and kind of interject about how, you know, should I be playing this matchup like Du, which James Chen argues. And Gustavo bumps in, and he's given the whole, well, Du plays on the pad, and Du is more liberal. He'll just go in and just do it, you know? And then Dominion kind of takes this, like, kind of hard because he's like, well, I like to play my game. Like, Du's just going in there, not mindlessly per se, but, you know, he's kind of etching over to that.
So there's some interesting things that are being brought up. Does the pad have anything to do with it versus the Fi Stick? Does the side-by-side versus head-to-head have something to do with it? Does the style of play, obviously the style of play has something to do with it because they're differing results. And I'm really glad NuckleDu is here so we can talk about all these things. Before we get into the interview, let's just get a couple things out of the way here. There are respects to announcements for the fighting game community. One was, of course, Rashid was announced last week, over the weekend in Dubai at a games event.
The Middle Eastern son of a wealthy man announced on September 11th, right?
There was some controversy about that he was announced on September 11th and all those things. Whatever, like here he is. This is, it's not playing, but my Wirecast just
regardless,
crashed.
He's
there it is.
He looks really cool. He's got he's the parkour style character. He's fast. His V skill is the roll or the jump, depending on which way you angle it, and he can follow it up. His V trigger is a cyclone, which makes his moves go faster and also acts as a slow projectile.
We're about to see the part where he puts up like a tornado in the middle of the screen and then jumps over it. And I think, look right here.
Right,
I think
and
that
so
is one of the coolest things you can do.
He accelerates if he uses his forward moving moves through the tornado, and it's also a hitbox on screen. So it's kind of got the Guile Sonic Boom thing, but for a rushdown character. So it's going to be really crazy to see. I mean, you heard a little bit of controversy, I guess, but I think most people are happy to see him in the game.
You know, I'm interested in the fact that they said he has a Condor Spire. And I like that, of course. I use T-Hawk. But the idea that they're taking the best of certain characters and remixing them into unique characters. You know, we saw Armika. She has moves that people were saying are like El Fuertes, right? So it's cool. I love to see... It's not an intentional remix, but they're taking moves that look like other characters have had them before, and we'll see how this character...
I mean,
Rashid.
how about that Power Scouter?
That, of course, was the first thing everybody was saying.
Yeah,
that he has
they photoshopped
scouter.
it on
Like, you
Hamad's
got to be
face.
pretty... You have to come from a wealthy household to get a Power Scouter like that.
You know, I do want to mention that there were people... There was a little bit of a controversy that he was announced on the anniversary of September 11, that it's the Arabian character, that he's from a wealthy family... stereotypes of a character, but everybody that you and I know, that here in this room know, that is from the Middle East or has some kind of connection to the area, seemed thrilled. My buddy Pedram from Iran was like, I finally have a character that I can call my own, even though he's from Iran and not from wherever this character is from.
I heard that Harado was the one who kind of begged Ono to get him in the game, and I think that everyone's just really excited for it to happen.
There's a massive fighting game community in the Middle East.
Oh, yeah.
And
Kuwait
Hamad...
and Dubai both have really big communities. You saw Big Bird beating Infiltration.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
So it makes sense to me. It's a no-brainer, right? Other cultures are represented. I think we did a mini poll here prior. You have Jury for Ray.
Yeah, Jury.
Hugo for you, and I guess T-Hawk or El Fuerte for me. Which is cool. Hey, now we have Rashid. The other thing that was announced and did not get a whole ton of good press was the King of Fighters 14 trailer, which people are complaining about, saying it does not look up to par.
It looks like that first number. It looks like it's from 1994, honestly. I mean, geez, it's just... They say announced for PS4, and I was like questioning whether they were serious.
It looks... It looks like King of Fighters a little bit, at least the animation.
It looks like Street Fighter EX for the PS1.
You know, maybe they'll polish it more, maybe they won't. What I find interesting, and this is something that we've talked about on the show before, is that it says right there, it's going to come out right now, PlayStation 4. Oh, maybe I cut that part out. But PlayStation 4, like it's going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. And that to me, that's the detail that's interesting me about this, because in my interview with Matt Dahlgren at EVO, he talked about how Sony is interested in making the PlayStation 4 the home for fighting games. Not the home for Street Fighter V, but the home for fighting games. Is King of Fighters part of that play? I've theorized that potentially the Tekken Cross Street Fighter game, which we have heard is still in development, is going to go that route. Fighting games in PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I mean, it just, this whole KOF 14 thing has confused me so much. You've seen a lot with SNK going on. There was like old teasers of like KOF characters, but then they found out it was for a pachinko machine in Japan. There was the whole thing where the Zhuando Jiwang, the Chinese ripoff of KOF, got Terry and Benny Maru in it. Tencent got the permission from SNK, and no one really knows what's going on, and this isn't really a good look. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound and make the game maybe look better. I mean, I hope it's not too far in development.
Okay, King of Fighters 14, get it together. King of Fighters 15 has a big following, and a lot of people like it. Hopefully, King of Fighters 14 keep that going. Let's get into round 2, where we bring in none other than NuckleDu Dang to come and talk to us about... Let's start off with his performance at the Fall Classic. Du, welcome back to our show.
Hi.
Du, let's start off right at the top. How do you feel about your performance at the Fall Classic?
Oh, I feel horrible. Like, it was just a horrible performance on all ends of my part. So
Now, you know, I had heard that you were going to skip the Fall Classic, that you weren't going to do it at all. What made you want to go after all?
Well, I was originally... Well, I flew to Philadelphia so I could drive to Delaware for vacation. I was going to stay there for a whole weekend. But I realized that North Carolina is only like a 5-hour drive. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go Saturday and see how I do. And then I got destroyed. So I just went back I went back to Delaware the same day. Like, the reason why I was taking a vacation was because I feel like I was like really just drained. So I needed a break. But, you know, my hunger just wanted to keep playing. Yeah.
What would you say has been draining you? Just the tournament season and keeping up with heading out to tournaments and all that stuff?
It's a multiple amount of things, like the expectation from people to do well, like every tournament to stay on top. There's the traveling. Traveling is really tiring, and just the whole pressure. It's tournaments. It's like a high pressure situation. It's not healthy.
So I hate to bring it up, but I'm gonna. You lost to EG players. You got knocked into losers by Ricky Ortiz, and then you faced Gabrad, and then he knocked you out of the tournament. What's going on with these EG players? Is there some insight you can give it to us about what they were able to do to you? And let's start off with Ricky, if possible.
All right. So Ricky, the last time we played was at CEO, and I beat Ricky pretty convincingly. Then at Combo Breaker, I beat Ricky also. But it's just...
Was he playing Elena?
No. This is the first time Ricky's ever picked Elena on me, and it worked. But, like, I feel like if I played Ricky at another tournament where I'm, like, just fully recovered, then it would be, like, a different result. Because, I'm just... I hate to make excuses, but I'm, like, really tired,
Yeah,
so
no.
I wasn't like in my full form, but Ricky actually did play a really good Elena. When I was watching Ricky play Elena the whole weekend, it was really impressive. I feel like Elena should be played that way.
Now, I remember Daigo in an interview actually called Elena Guile a 9-1 matchup, and I don't know if it's that bad, but I remember you losing at Texas Showdown to an Elena from Texas, and you've obviously lost to Ricky now, and you claim it would have gone differently. How do you feel about that matchup?
That matchup sucks.
Yeah,
totally. It's just not fun. There's nowhere on the screen that Guile actually wins or is at advantage on. There's this one part of the screen where he loses, but it's not bad. That's like the only hope.
I totally feel the same way. Yeah.
Good matchup.
Okay, so it was just it came down to his Elena. If I remember correctly, did you switch to DiCaprio in that match?
Yeah, I switched to DiCaprio and I beat the Elena pretty convincingly. And then Ricky switched to Rufus and then beat me really bad.
In that kind of situation, in the future, are you going to be looking for a double blind pick, or do you have like a strategy, another counterpick character perhaps? What do you do in these situations when Guile is obviously counterpicked, such as the Adon by GamerB at Evo, the Elena here, but you're worried about DiCaprio being counterpicked?
Yeah, like it all comes to, when it comes to counterpicking, you gotta call a blind pick, and then it all comes down to who wins that first match. And then whoever wins is really favorable in the character position you get to pick. So it all comes down to who wins the first game, no matter what the matchup is. Like, you have to win it. It's really important.
All right, let's talk about the other EG match that you had, and that was K-Brad using Cammy, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go. We have it there. You started off with DiCaprio on this one because you knew you were going to be facing a Cammy? Or what was the thought process behind that?
Well, K-Braz even admit that, like, he can never ever beat me. But this tournament, man, like, I was just losing to everyone. But I won the first game pretty convincingly. But then I just got into like a flowchart playstyle, and that's never good for a tournament. I've had success with Guile and DiCaprio, but it's just this tournament he was just having a good day. He played pretty well.
I hear you.
And he actually changed up his strategy, which I wasn't really prepared for, honestly.
What would you say was the change up he made?
He was actually playing. He wasn't just watching me play. Like before, he would just watch me fly around, and I could do whatever I want. But this time, he was actually moving around. He was like, pushing buttons. Honestly, that's what it was.
Do you know if any of these guys that you competed against, maybe you heard offhand, if any of these guys studied your matches because they didn't want to lose to you anymore? Because one thing is for you to say you fell into your flowchart. The other thing could be that you were playing the way you like to play, but these guys had counters to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they studied the matches because it's like if I was losing to someone over and over again, I would rewatch everything and just study it over and over again until I could find a solution. So there's no doubt that they didn't study,
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of finding a solution, we want to talk a little bit about the small controversy with you, Snake Eyes, and Dominion. Because I guess Dai's been having trouble with Snake Eyes, whereas you have not. So what would you attribute that to, and how do you feel about the comments that were made?
Oh, the comments were beautiful last night. So Dominion tweeted out to someone that he didn't beat Snake Eyes, that NuckleDu's coaching beat him at Summer Jam.
That's right.
Then he goes around and tells everyone that what did he say? Something really stupid. It was like he turns his brain off whenever he plays Snake Eyes, and that smart play isn't effective. And,
So
it was like,
implying that you beat him by not being smart?
pretty much, yeah. But it's like I go and help someone, right? I help someone win a tournament. Even he said so. Then he's gonna go around and like bash on the strategy that I told him. Like, you can't beat someone 4 tournaments in a row and just call it random. It doesn't work that way, you know. That's not random. There's obviously something going on besides, you know, being random. Because you can't get random 4 tournaments in a row and be lucky every time, you know.
Totally. And now people are saying that you're just like doing it or whatever. But I mean, it seems like versus Zangief, it's important to throw out those back fists and those stand roundhouse to keep him from jumping all the time and to kind of stop him from moving out of the sonic boom. Whereas you see Dominion play a lot more conservatively. Do you think, what exactly were you saying to him when you were coaching him that made him win that one time? And did you feel like he played differently without your coaching at TFC?
Okay, so at Summer Jam, where he did win, I was coaching him mid-match. So I was just telling him everything to do, like everything, you know, where to stay at. And then he actually listened. But at TFC, I left on Saturday night, and I actually reviewed him the matchup and told him what to do. But he just didn't apply it effectively. I guess he needed me there to, like, you know, walk him through the whole matchup. But yeah, like the grand finals, he just didn't apply it. Like, I see he's doing it, but it's just not effective, you know, like the way he's doing it. It's actually it's really, you have to be really precise when you know, do the strategy.
Now, in America, right, when people say Guile, they think of you and they think of Dominion.
Yes.
The Snake Eyes matchup aside, how do you guys think you stack up
Against other Guile players?
against each other? Who's the best Guile player?
Oh, that's all opinionated. Like, you know, everyone has their own opinion. Honestly, I feel that Dominion has the best Guile, but I feel like I'm the better Street Fighter player when it comes to, you know, because if you really think about it, he struggles in the matchups that I don't struggle with. And that's because he can't really play the way, you know, typical Guiles are supposed to, you know? So when it comes to bad matchups, you're supposed to do things that you're not supposed to do with the typical Guile strategy. So I feel like Dominion is an amazing Guile player, but when it comes to like a Street Fighter player, like if he were to try to pick up another character, I don't think that would work out, and it's shown, you know.
All right, there's actually this tweet that I want to kind of delve into where you say there's obviously another level of neutral in footsies you guys can't comprehend, and that's 2 Dominion, if I'm correct. Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that?
Okay, so they were trying to say that I throw my brain out whenever I play Snake Eyes, and that that Dominion is not getting rewarded for playing smart, but I'm getting rewarded for playing stupid. There's clearly a different mind game that they're not able to understand because they're so stuck on playing the traditional way. But, you know, it's 2015. Snake Eyes isn't going to keep losing to the flowchart way, you know? It's a bad matchup. Guile is supposed to win. So eventually, you know, Zangief is going to find a counter strategy. Then, yeah, so since Snake Eyes found a counter strategy to the traditional bad matchup, you know, we had to find a counter to that strategy. And then that's exactly what I did. But they just can't understand it yet because it's the wrong way to play in the books, you know?
You know, we actually interviewed Snake Eyes a while ago, and I remember he talked about how he will just watch any Guile, you know, to learn any like little setups or gimmicks.
Geef.
Oh, any Geef to learn these setups and gimmicks. You know, is that part of this like new mindset of just getting information from anywhere, like outside of the flowchart? Do you think that's really like coming into a big play here?
No, I first figured out the strategy when I watched who beat Snake Eyes, and I started to figure out what Zangief can't do, and it's actually pretty unfair. Like the matchup Guile Zangief, like Guile should never ever lose that matchup. It's just really bad.
Really?
It's horrible. Like, I feel bad for Snake Eyes when I play him because it's close to impossible. Like it's really bad.
The slow
But
jump
yeah,
startup from Zangief seems like really hard to to fight with versus like Stan Fierce and Sonic Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, like I watched certain players play against Snake Eyes, and I actually learned a lot just watching those. And though those characters isn't even Guile, it's just totally different characters that beat Snake Eyes. So.
But I have a question, just a general question. I mean, you're one of the younger guys in the fighting game community. Granted, you're not a novice by any means. But when you hear some of these older guys, more established guys like Dominion, basically saying that you have to turn your brain off to play like you, does it insult you? You bothered by that? Are you like, or is that fuel for the next time you guys see each other?
I think it's hilarious because you can't be that close-minded. Like you have to keep an open mind when you're trying to win these tournaments. Like I understand that you want to play a certain style that makes sense to all these people, but you're not trying to convince the people that you're good. You're trying to win, So I just feel like you just play however you want, and if you win, that's all that matters. Yeah.
Well, taking it off of the whole little beef there, you mentioned pressure, and I've also kind of noticed that you were known for a long time for taunting with Guile, for throwing on the shades, etc. And it seems like you've been doing it a bit less. Does that have anything to do with being sponsored, pressure? Is it just you haven't gotten the situations to do it? Like, is that relevant whatsoever? I'm just wanting to hear your thoughts.
No, there's just no one that I would like to taunt anymore these days. Like, there's like a few people, but I haven't played them yet. So, like, it gets kind of boring taunting the same people, So
you're known for throwing on those shades, even in situations where you could potentially get, the leg up, but instead you waste the opportunity to throw on the shades.
Flash kick FADC shades.
Yeah.
Dude.
Why do you do that? Well, what's the point of? I mean, obviously, there's just to ruffle the feathers of your opponent, but let's hear it from you. Why do you throw on the shades so often?
There's many reasons. Like either when I'm trying to make a comeback, it'll like just like give the opponent something else to think about, just to piss them off, or if the crowd isn't on my side, or if the crowd's too quiet, I like to wake them up. Sometimes, that's basically it.
Does the crowd help you pump? Like if the crowd is on your side, does that actually translate to you doing better in your match? Have you noticed
because
that?
I know when I put on the shades, it pisses a lot of people off, especially when you're playing against someone who's like really good and they want to win. So I like hearing the crowd when I play because I don't know. It just makes me play better, honestly.
You were not so recently, but recently signed by Liquid. How has competing changed since you got signed by Liquid? Is there pressure? Is it better? Because just as a preface here, we spoke to AJ, the team manager for EG, and he says he doesn't pressure his players into winning. He just wants them to be happy and do their best, of course. But if they win, that does or lose, that doesn't mean that they're being successful or unsuccessful at their job. What's your personal philosophy as being a signed player?
Well, Team Liquid, they have a successful league team, and their CS:GO team is really good. They have Hungrybox for Smash. They have they have like 4 Smash players, and we just picked up Nairo, so it's not pressure. It's more of an honor to be able to play next to all these guys and be able to wear the jacket, represent such a successful brand. Because like Team Liquid is just overall an awesome brand. Like there's not much bad things to say about Team Liquid, and they treat all their players well, and then all the players treat their fans well. So yeah, it's more of honor than pressure, honestly.
So you didn't get signed and say, "Oh dang, I better start winning some tournaments, or I better make it into the Capcom Pro Tour." You're still just doing your thing.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not too much pressure, honestly.
And with the Capcom Pro Tour, as we stated in round 1, it seems like you're pretty likely at this point to make the cut. With that maybe being one of the last super major tournaments before Street Fighter V releases, are you preparing especially hard for that? Are you withholding information to play better at the Pro Tour? What is your strategy starting now going into the Pro Tour at the end of the year?
Right now, I am lost. Like, I'm so tired. I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now. I just know that I had to rest. I had to, just literally do nothing. Like, as weird as that sounds, I don't want to look at Street Fighter right now because I know I'm just really tired. Because, like, I went to 4 events back to back. So every weekend was just booked, and it's just really tiring. And especially, like me, I'm not a healthy kid. Like, I'm really skinny. I don't sleep much. I don't eat much. So I'm just not healthy at the moment. So I think I should re-energize everything and just come back stronger.
So, assuming that you do re-energize and that you're prepared, how do you feel about the Capcom Cup? Obviously, we were talking about how it's likely you'll be in it, but let's say that you make it in. How do you feel about your chances? What kind of preparation will you change? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, brackets are really important, so it depends on how seeding goes. But I feel like everyone has a chance to win. It's just how well they play that day, if they make the right reads. So anyone could win, but I feel like the chances of me winning is like it all depends on how the year goes, how I'm feeling that day, if I ate well. It's a lot of things. It's not just that very moment where you're saying no. It's a lot of things leading up to it. If I have a clear mind, it's really important.
I'm wondering if there's a specific character that you feel does specifically well versus both Guile and DiCaprio that you're scared of.
You trying to expose me? Elena definitely destroys Guile and DiCaprio. Mm-hmm. It's bad.
Because there's a lot of Japanese players with and Taiwanese players with sub Elenas. So is that something you're going to come up with a counter strategy for? Obviously, you're probably not going to pick Guile. Do you think DiCaprio has leeway in the matchup, or is there a third character? What's the game plan?
No, I think DiCaprio Elena might even be worse than
really.
Guile.
Wow.
Well, no, I wouldn't say worse, but it's just as bad. I feel like I'm gonna have to pick up a new character to just counter Elena, because if you notice, there's no Elena mains. It's just people picking her up to counter people. She's like a sub character. She's not a main. So it's pretty upsetting to see that she was added to the game just, to counter everyone. But, I mean, what are you going to do? There's so much money on the line, so why not do that,
Exactly, that makes sense. Is that your mentality as well? I mean, because you could say, why don't you pick up Elena or pick up some other top-tier character?
Yeah, I mean, there's $120,000 online, so I'm going to have to figure something out. I can't just complain and, no results shown.
Speaking of not complaining, that might be an allusion to Dominion or somebody else saying coming up with excuses. But prior to the interview, I asked you who you do look up to, or if you consider anybody worthy of looking up to in the fighting game community, and you mentioned a couple of names. One of those, 801 Strider. What is it about 801 Strider that you like?
801 Strider, his able is really different. He takes a lot of pride in his footsies and whip punishing, and that's not much you see in America, American gameplay. He's pretty humble. He realizes why he loses. He doesn't like to make excuses, which is really, is really good. So yeah, and he's just overall really cool guy. So he's actually one of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned Bonchan, but I'd like to hear your opinion on Infiltration. You mentioned Infiltration as well. What do you like about Infiltration? I mean, that's a guy that counterpicks, and certainly his personality is all over the map.
Well, in 2012, Infiltration has always been my favorite player since 2012 because he was dominating for 2 years straight. So I was just curious why he was dominating, so I would watch his videos over and over and over again. I started to understand why he was winning. It's just really smart. He's just an overall smart player. He's not scared to counterpick, and he's a pretty funny guy. So.
But I'm bringing up these names that you mentioned to me as guys that you look up to. But I also asked you because I was asking you if you came up with CJ and Jabali, and you mentioned that that's a misconception. Just because you're from Florida and you're roughly the same age, you guys didn't actually come up together as intentionally as a unit. To which I asked you, well, who are your friends in the area? And you said you don't have any friends in the FGC. Is that really true that you don't have friends in the FGC? There are more competitors or people or you hang out with a lot by direct result of going to these tournaments?
I mean, well, define friend. Everyone has their own definition of friend.
Sure.
FGC, I feel I'm not sure. There's people I'll hang out with and stuff, but when it comes to real life stuff, that's what I consider friend.
Well, what do you mean by that? Because you kind of alluded prior to this interview to the fact that you've had some rough family relationships or some history that precludes you from making friends easily. Could you talk about that to us, please?
Yeah, so in high school, my relationship with my family was really bad. I wanted to, be a professional gamer. They didn't support it. It was really bad. I was missing a lot of school. I got kicked out of my house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was bad. It wasn't until recently where they started to support what I do. Yeah, and it is a little upsetting because it would have been really different if I got the support early, but I had to go through a lot of hardships to get where I am now. And yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned like real life versus the FGC, because I know a lot of competitors kind of live life within the FGC. K-Brad travels around all the time, stays at people in the FGC's houses to go to these tournaments. Justin's obviously going to tournaments almost every weekend. For you, it's exhausting to go to these tournaments, and despite being one of the best competitors out there, you seem to separate it a bit. Is that something that you wish to continue to keep separate? Is there a reason? Like, what is it that defines real life?
Man, you guys are hitting the hard questions.
Somebody in chat is asking if this just turned into Dr. Phil show, but back to your answer.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, like I guess I'm so like I'm such an introvert. Like I don't like talking to people. It's not just me being rude. I just overall just don't like talking.
Yeah,
it's really hard for people to understand that like people will think I'm an asshole because I don't want to talk. So it's hard to make friends, acquaintances, whatever it is. So that's why I just don't even bother calling anyone a friend, because I feel like I have to try to be a friend, and I don't really want to do that.
But you also mentioned, again, this was prior to the show going live, that you used to be very self-conscious or nervous or introverted in high school, but that the fighting game community has helped you in that regard be a little more confident, I guess. Is that true? And is it because all these girls keep showing up and trying to take pictures with you and traveling across the country to see you and get a selfie?
Yeah, in high school I was really insecure. I think I'm still insecure now, actually. But yeah, being a professional gamer definitely helps because I don't have to talk first. They people come up to me, and that really helps because I'm really shy, really quiet. So yeah, it definitely helps.
Well, you're definitely one of the best players in the scene. And one thing that I've heard in this interview over and over again is that you've been watching players to study them, that you've seen what they've done and felt it was smart. I want to get a little more detail possibly out of what you are studying when you watch someone. I know you said you watch someone when they beat someone that you can't beat, but are there specific gameplay steps that you take so that other people watching this can try to emulate them?
Yes, so when someone beats me, right, and then I watch someone beat them, like I look at every little hit that they received, every little damage they received, and I try to comprehend like why they got hit, like where were they where were they standing at when they got hit, and just try to like make a movie and see what was going on inside the other person's brain. And it really helps because you'll understand where the damage coming from, you'll understand why they got hit by it, and then you can try to implement that into your style.
Dude, we're getting some questions in the chat. One of them is, what's your next tournament? Are you going to the Tokyo Game Show as well?
Oh, I actually canceled that trip, which I kind of regret because, freaking Japan.
Yeah.
But I canceled it because I'm a really big fear of airplanes.
Oh, wow.
Which is weird because I travel a lot, but it's a long plane ride. It's like 17 hours, so I canceled that. But I kind of regret it, but it's whatever. Maybe next year.
So then what's your next tournament?
My next tournament is SCR in California.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. It's
Also, Guile is an Air Force pilot, right? And he's in planes all the time?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay. Somebody wants to ask in the chat, and I usually wouldn't, encourage this, but they want to know about your girlfriend. Do you have one? Are you available?
Yeah, I'm currently single. I don't have a girlfriend.
All right, there you go to whoever asked that in the chat. I'm curious about, moving forward, right? I mean, we've talked about Capcom Pro Tour. This is the last one that'll be Street Fighter 4 likely, or at least as a headlining title. How do you feel about Street Fighter 5? I've heard that you haven't even bothered to look at it yet. Let me get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, you heard correctly. I don't really care about it right now.
Like, you don't care about the game
really
at all,
right now.
or you're waiting for it to come out before you sink your teeth into it?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm waiting for it to come out so I could, fully understand the whole game. But right now, there's just too much theory fighting that I don't like doing that.
Yeah. you stream and you stream often. How do you? That's like the whole new, like in League of Legends and in other games, people stream all the time. Their personal streams, their practice rounds, their scrims, whatever you want to call it. Recently, the fighting game community has been really opening that door to their personal streams. You got Justin Wong, you got Snake Eyes doing it, and plenty of others. How do you feel? Like, what's your relationship to that audience, to your Twitch following, to your chat? You know, that's like a whole nother world that isn't something from your traditional tournament schedule of fighting games. So, I mean, can you paint that picture for us? What's it like for you?
Oh my god, my rabbit! Oh, can you please yell?
Yeah, put the rabbit on the show.
I was going to ask you about the rabbit later.
my rabbit's like, oh my god, she's like jumping on my. Oh, god, okay, you know what? Okay.
Is she okay? Is your rabbit okay?
Booker, can you like put her down?
Is Tampa Bison?
You want to see the rabbit? It's like.
Let's see the rabbit.
Is Tampa Bison dying?
But
we see Dexter.
Tampa.
Oh yeah, I think I see a little bit of. There you
Oh,
go.
there it is.
What's the name of your rabbit, man?
Her name is Elsa. She's really destructive, like really destructive.
Is there a Twitch emote for your rabbit?
Yeah, there is. Honestly.
Do you have an Instagram just for your
with
rabbit?
the Twitch audience, like, it's really laid back. When I stream, I try not to make it so serious. I like to eat on my stream. I like to listen to music, and I just like to connect to the people and just talk to them. You know, but it's nothing like I don't take it as training or anything like that.
Okay, so I mean that really rounds out all the questions we had for you. But we do want to hold on to you here for round 3. We usually let the interview you go, but since we're going to be talking about your matches, we figured why don't you stick around and give us your actual thoughts. We're going to analyze for round 3, which we're going into now.
Sorry.
A match between you and Ricky Ortiz from the Fall Classic. Check out that awesome graphic, round 3. So we're going to pull up the first section. This is the first round of the first match that you had against Ricky. And here it is up on the screen. You are using Guile. She is using Elena.
So let's just start it off. Why does Elena beat Guile so badly?
Because she could just absorb the fireballs, and look, yeah, she just slid right under the fireball. And you know, Guile's Sonic Boom is really fast and has a lot of fast recovery, but she can still slide under it. And look in the corner. So like every Sonic Boom I throw, she uses it against me. You know, she absorbs it, and then she gains Ultra Meter, which she could heal. And the overhead is pretty hard to
Yeah, the
react to.
overhead kills here charging. I mean, the matchup is totally miserable, seemingly.
Yeah, look at this. What is that?
Yeah.
She heals. I can't really do anything about it. Look, she blocked my Sonic Boom.
Now, you said in this match, Guile doesn't really have a spot where he wins.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Like,
Because up
not
close,
even-
she could just sweep. See, like I had to do stuff like that. But up close, she could just sweep instead of slide, and they'll trade with the Sonic Boom. But it's a good trade, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Did I win this round?
Yeah, you actually
Yeah,
did.
you did.
Yeah.
We wanted
Yeah,
to put
we-
one
so I
round
picked
where
it
you
out.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. We didn't want it to be a slaughter, right? This is a repeat of that same round.
Yeah, you
it's
had
on
you had to fight through like 1,600 health to win that round. No, it seems very difficult just because her options versus Sonic Boom are gain healing or kill you with slide. So I mean, yeah. Then what interests me more is that you said DiCapri is just as bad. Is it similar? I've always felt that charge characters had a tough time with Elena due to her speed of her overheads and stuff like that. What is it with DiCapri that's so bad?
Well, she can't do hands. It's -3, so all Elena has to do is block the hands and then DP punish, like just mash DP. So that's one big thing. In neutral, she really doesn't win. Like her buttons aren't. You can't really compete with Elena's. You know, it's not that fast. It's slow startup, and when she does the scrambles, she can just anti-air every time with just one button, and it's really easy. You don't really have to time it or anything.
Well, we're going to go into a clip from when you switched to DiCapri. Ray, can you set up this clip for us?
All right, so this one, I want to talk more just about your Ultra 1 setup here. You know, we've seen you use Ultra 1 quite a bit of times, and you always seem to have a new setup. Like, how do you practice these kind of things? You know, what made you want to use that setup for this moment?
I didn't practice it.
Oh,
I just
okay,
do
well,
it.
Just do it, dog.
just do it. All right. Well, I'm sure Diminion's glad to hear that. But I mean, you even like do some things like the fake ground pounds and things like that. Like, do you just recognize that Ricky's not pressing buttons, or he's just not reacting, or you just doing it? Like, what's going on here?
With DiCapri, you kind of just have to do it. You know? Yeah, that's just the way the character is. Like, but like the ground pound is just so fast that just doing it is actually really effective
Mm-hmm.
because it's so fast.
But in the next clip, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about how you kind of switch it up, where you're using her dive kick instead of the ground pounds to kind of get in and make you see here, and then this one crosses up. Like, are you noticing, or are you like mixing up your game? Like, what's going on?
Oh, I'm starting to realize that Ricky doesn't know the matchup. That's why I'm abusing it. But
Is that punishable, or
I'm sorry.
is that punishable on block or something?
It's
or?
not. It's not punishable. But she could just anti-air for like free every time. It's just that I knew that she didn't know the matchup, so I just abused it. But if I were to go against like a Japanese Atlanta, I wouldn't be able to win like this.
So I remember before Ultra, you played a bit of a Buki. You were mostly a Guile player, obviously. What made you pick up DiCapri, and do you still play a Buki? Do you still play a Kuma? Like, is there anyone else on the roster?
Well, I first picked up DiCapri because like when Ultra first came out, they had a local tournament. Then they're like, if you win with a new character, you get like 40 extra bucks. So I was like, yeah, DiCapri looks pretty cool. And then I just started using her from that point on. It's pretty cool. But any other character? Not at the moment, honestly. Like my Buki sucks. I play Akuma, but I'm too scared to bring him out to tournaments because he has such a low health, so it's kind of risky. Yeah.
Since we have you here, and since Dominion had such an opinion on your Guile, I'd like to play the Snake Eyes versus Dominion Grand Finals from the Fall Classic, and you walk us through what you think he's doing wrong. Does that sound like something you?
Yeah,
can
you can just talk
do?
generally too. You don't have to follow the match exactly.
Yeah. So it's playing now, and hopefully you can see that on the screen.
First thing, did he pick the correct costume?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't like the color he chose.
What's your favorite Guile costume?
Alternate 210. It's the same one as this one, but it's white.
It's white. Oh, nice,
Right on.
nice.
Is it for the liquid, so you can match your liquid colors?
Pretty much, yeah.
No, but you had mentioned earlier in the show how he was trying to implement some of the things that you had told him at Summer Jam, but he wasn't doing it quite to the best effect. Explain that to me again, like I'm 5. What exactly that he's doing wrong?
I told him to stop being a bitch.
He walks to the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah, I told him exactly what to do at Summer Jam. Just stop.
But everybody knows that Dominion is best in the corner, isn't he? Like one of the best Guiles in the corner, and like he almost like it's like he eats a can of spinach when he gets there, like Popeye. You're saying don't do that.
No. I'm telling him to stop going in the corner. Like he's good in the corner against mediocre players, but when he plays against someone like Snake Eyes, Snake Eyes isn't gonna care. Like he's gonna open up your defense. But like he's known for having good defense in the corner because it shows when you're playing against a player that's below you.
I hear you. So I mean, we're still watching this match here. Again, you said one of the 4 players that you mentioned when I asked you that you liked or had respect for. One of those was Snake Eyes. Tell me what Snake Eyes is doing right.
What is he doing right in this matchup?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you also told us that Guile should not lose this match. So what the heck is Snake Eyes doing? Granted, he's one of the best Geefs in the world, but Dominion is one of the best Guiles in the world.
What he's doing right. It's hard to say what he's doing right because I could counter it. Like I could see what I could do to, I could tell you what Dominion's doing wrong.
All right, let's start there.
What Snake Eyes is doing. It's weird because man.
Let's start like this. Who's a better Street Fighter player in this one? Is this more of a who's a better Street Fighter player or who's a better character?
Who's a better Street Fighter player in this? In
this match.
Snake and Dominion? Oh, Snake, free.
Well,
is that really what it comes down to? He's just the better Street Fighter player, which is why he's winning this so easily again. Well, not so easily, but winning this against Guile. This is a matchup you say he should not lose, but
yeah, this matchup is just so bad. But Snake Eyes is able to evolve. He's able to adapt to the horrible matchup that he found ways to turn a bad matchup into somewhat favorable because of the way the old matchup works. Like the old matchup, he's running away, so Snake Eyes is using that to his advantage. He wants him to run away, so eventually he gets cornered.
Wow.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was an exciting tournament. There's a bigger question here about, and I'm putting you in the same boat as Snake Eyes, of these guys that are sponsored by these big esports labels. Not to disparage Yomi by any means, they have a lot of top tier talent on there. The question of esports moving forward, there's some people who don't like. I mean, there's some people who will outright murder you or crucify you if you say that FGC is esports. It seems to be more people who are not competitors. Where do you stand on this? As far as is the FGC esports or not? Of course, with that comes with bigger prize pools, more publicity, things of that nature. Where do you stand on the whole question of esports? And I guess we're moving a little away from play analysis, but we got you there.
I definitely support esports. All the players support it. Like it's gonna, it's just more money, more exposure. But the people who don't want esports are the people at home who are like trolls. Like they just want to see blow ups. They want to see unprofessional commentary. But the people who want esports are the actual competitors and the people who actually enjoy the game.
What do you mean by unprofessional commentary? As something that people would want?
Like in esports, you're not going to see a caster or a commentator blow someone up. They're not going to trash someone's gameplay. They're really professional. But with the FGC, people like to see blow-ups. They like to see people talk smack to each other. They like to see, just bad things. But, esports doesn't allow that. You have to be really professional.
And you would rather move towards that? Because I feel like that would lose, some of that special sauce, some of that flavor that makes the FGC what it is.
Being raised in the Asian household kind of thing. I kind of agree.
What do you mean? Being raised in an Asian household?
Like you always got to be so. I don't know if I'm this. We don't have the same Asian parents, of course. But
you're saying NuckleDu is not your brother.
Yeah, but be respectful. Respect your elders. Always when you go out, you represent your whole family in the community. Things like that. I feel like maybe Du could kind of relate. Right?
Do you concur with that? Do you concur?
Oh man. Yeah, pretty much like we're representing, a whole community. So why not have the best representatives just at the esports?
Speaking of just do it, there's a clip that Ray pulled from your Twitter feed, and this is probably the ultimate just do it moment. And I believe, whoops, probably should have killed the audio first.
Look at that pop off.
It's not a pop-on, that's excitement.
Here, let me kill the audio and we'll play that again.
I feel like that clip kind of represented why you do well versus Snake Eyes, which is that you're willing to press those buttons when you think people are going to advance.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to play that again.
I feel like that's a fundamental aspect of footsies that people are seeming to call randomness. How do you feel about that? Or was that just you pressing Fierce 3 times desperately? I could be totally do it.
I actually knew that he was gonna Rekka, so I had to space myself out. Like that's why I kept walking back. So when I first saw the Rekka, I had to wait because the Rekka already came out. So I had to wait like a really little for the second Rekka, and then I could get the Fierce, which is the counter hit. And then so he's gonna have like little to no health. So I know he's panicking. So he's gonna want to go for another Rekka. So I had two options. I could either neutral jump, or I could 4 Fierce again. That's exactly what I did. Or I could run away, but running away isn't going to give me the win. So I took the big risk of going for the 4 Fierce because I know he was anxious for the win.
But the tweet attached to that video that you put out said something to the effect of nothing feels better than doing 3 Fierces or punching an Evo champ 3 times in the face. Tell me,
done that before.
Exactly. But I mean, do you still get excited, right? Because these are all your peers. But when you beat somebody like that, like a Fudo, how does that make you feel, man? It was almost like you did 3 Rekkas to him, by the way.
It seems like you have a lot more respect for the foreign players, to be honest, just from the way you've been talking about, like a Japanese Elena wouldn't do this, etc. Did that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, because I understand that he was going to go for another Rekka, but an American player they probably would have done something different, honestly. But I understand that Fudo was anxious. He really wanted that win, and he felt that. I pretty much just steal the round from him. So he's going to try to end it as quickly as possible. And, that's where I figured that he was going to go for another Rekka after eating the 2 heavy punches.
Dude, I wanted to ask you about youth, about being a young guy and all this. You're 19, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about other people? Because there's not that many people your age. There's CJ. There's a handful of young players. But this is, in some circles referred to as like an old man's game, whereas your other esports are for the younger crowds. Your age demographic. What is it about Street Fighter that attracts you to it as a competitive game? And how do you get? What would be your suggestion to try to get younger blood in the scene?
Well, Street Fighter was never fun for me. I don't know if I'm having fun or if I'm just having fun beating people. But when I'm actually playing, I don't know. But I think I just have fun beating older people because it makes me feel like I'm actually outsmarting them. Because they play this they play this longer than I've been alive. So when I beat them, they look at me like really in like a really bad way because they invested almost like half their lifetime into this, and they have this little kid who's able to just beat them in their it's a great feeling. But when it comes to younger crowds, they're usually not like interested. I'm not sure why. It can be boring to watch. It could be hard to understand fully. Yeah, like I don't have much advice for younger players, honestly.
What do you see going forward for yourself, moving forward? Obviously, it doesn't look like you want to retire any soon. Yes, you mentioned that there's a little bit of a burnout, but I mean, you take a couple weeks off, you rest up, and then you're back at it. Where's your career headed in your mind?
Well, I think Team Liquid is pretty satisfied with everything that's been going on with me this year, so hopefully I get re-signed. If I do, then just be going hard in Street Fighter 5. I still want to go to college. That's still part of my schedule. But as of right now, I'm just enjoying what I'm doing right now. So, yeah.
Dude, we're coming to the end of the show, but is there anything that we didn't ask you about? Obviously, we asked you about a ton of stuff, but is there anything we didn't ask you about that you want to talk about?
Talk more about your rabbit, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, the rabbit, the fact
like
that
to
you
hear
have
more about
Tampa
Elsa.
Bison there with you hanging out.
Yeah, Taylor Bison is just in the dark little corner. I don't know what he's doing. It's creepy, but yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have questions about me, so if anyone want to ask me anything.
Yeah, there's a question here from the chat. I'm having trouble pronouncing his name. Something Baby says, how long is your contract for, and what are some of those details of your contract?
My contract is a year and 6 days.
And it started when exactly?
January.
January. So, I mean, you have at least through the end of the year. And again, you mentioned that you hope you get signed again. Tell me about Tampa Bison being there. Are you guys going to get some sets in? Are you guys going to hang out? You mentioned prior that
No, we're definitely not going to play. I'm too tired for that. He just got back from the Fall Classic, so he just wanted to drop by, say hi. You want to say hi, Booker?
All right, that's Tampa Bison Booker saying hi.
Who also did very well at the Fall Classic this
Third
weekend.
place.
That's right, he got third place. Yo, maybe you should have been getting tips from him. No, somebody in the chat here, Toluca Freak, who we are happy to always have in our chat, asks about II. Do you think II is a god?
Man, Toluca Freak. He's the reason why I lost to II. He never helps me in the Jerry matchup, even though he plays Jerry. So screw you, Toluca. No, me and Toluca are pretty close. He watched my stream. But II is pretty good. Hopefully he makes it in the Capcom Cup and causes a lot of upsets because II is ridiculous.
Has he entered tournaments outside of Evo? I know he's the top online player, and he obviously was ridiculously successful at Evo. But
he's trying to be in the Topanga B League. He's trying to qualify for that.
Do you get points towards the Capcom Cup for that?
No, it's just a Japan exclusive tournament.
Oh.
Do we have a question here, and this is something you and I talked about already, but what do you plan on studying in college is the question.
I would love to be a social worker for Child Protective Services.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something I've always wanted to do.
But you're not currently in college right now, is that right?
No, I'm not. I live right next to a college campus, though, which sucks because I see all these people living their college lives, and I'm just like sitting here watching streams and stuff. It's kind of depressing, but it's the life I chose.
But it's funny because again, we were talking earlier, and you said that your dream is to go to college and have a career and something like that. What strikes me from that is that people usually say my dream would have been to be a competitive player and had that esports life. You have it the other way around. I mean, tell me about that, man.
Well, I was never a gamer growing up. Like, I got into Street Fighter because my uncle would want me to play with him because he had no one else to play with, and he would beat me so much that I eventually bought my first game console and just learned just to beat him, and then
just to beat your uncle.
Dang.
Yeah.
And does your uncle know that now you're winning tournaments, winning combo breaker, making top 8 at
He's my
Evo?
biggest supporter. I love my uncle. Like, he took me to my first tournament, and yeah.
How old were you at your first tournament, man?
I was 15 years old.
15. How'd you do?
Yeah, I won. It was like 64 people.
The hell? This kid, phenom. We have a question here about, again, about Team Liquid. Did you choose Team Liquid or did they choose you? Did you get sponsored? Did you get approached by any other sponsors as well?
They came up to me. I also did get a lot of other offers. But, Team Liquid is just so fitting. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Somebody here wanted to point out that I can only go to Asia events because of his work. So no other sponsors reached out to you, is that right?
No, they have, but that's actually called poaching, so that's like a really bad look.
I mean, prior to having signed with Team Liquid, had people been hitting you?
Oh, yeah, many actually. But I just decided to wait it out. I didn't really want to just jump to any, sponsorships.
And that seems incredibly smart. I mean, we heard about we had on the show Zevron's CEO, which ended up screwing over Kazunoko, for lack of a better term.
Is that something that concerns you at all? Obviously, you're with a secure, at least for the rest of the year. You're signed by an esports organization that is established and doesn't look like they're gonna issue a bunch of checks that bounce, right? But when you see something like what happened with Zevron, they signed Kazunoko and then had absolutely no means of honoring that contract. Do you think that'll start happening more in esports as if Street Fighter V blows up the fighting game esports world? And is that something that you're concerned with at all? Obviously, again, you're in a safe position right now.
I mean, it's always gonna be a few bad apples, but it's up to the player to decide if this is the right one or not. It's not Kazunoko's fault, but at the same time, who could tell who's the bad guy or not? So
right. We have a couple more questions here for you, from the chat. This is Baka J. Wants to know if you would ever be EG. I don't know why you would when you're on a team like Liquid.
EG? Dude, EG has the biggest fighting game team.
Okay, so obviously they have a stacked roster. I mean, the best. You could call them like the Yankees of fighting games, or at least of Street Fighter. Is that something? I mean, again, certainly I don't want to get you in trouble with Team Liquid, but you look up to the Team EG, even though they, did work on you this weekend.
I mean, EG looks like cool, but I'm really happy with Team Liquid. It would be cool to like have a teammate because it does get lonely, going to these tournaments, having no one by your side, and then you watch EG and they're all together.
Who are those unsigned players that you think are deserving of for instance? Obviously, we're not going to hold you to it, and you don't have the power to sign somebody. But who would you think would be a good fit for Team Liquid that you would want as a teammate?
Infiltration. LV is a teammate. Infiltration. Kazunoko.
Tampa Bison?
I would love to get
Dang, he didn't say him. I didn't hear him say Tampa Bison.
You guys put me on the spot.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what we were doing.
No, but I've always wanted like an international teammate like Infiltration because he doesn't have a team right now. But I don't think Team Liquid is interested in any Street Fighter players right now. They're pretty content with all the people they have.
That makes sense. Of course, Street Fighter V is coming up, and maybe that'll change. We had a question earlier, and I think it was Ramalin or something to that effect, asking simply, what is your training regimen like? How do you train?
Oh, it's really random, but like it's like 10% I'll actually go into the lab, but most of it is just watching YouTube videos and watching players that I feel that are going to be at that certain tournament I'm going to. But other than that, I really don't practice. It's mainly watching videos. That's all.
We have another question from the chat. Ronaldo Kuhn wants to know, how do you unwind? Lots of people play fighters to relieve stress, but when it's your job, what do you do to chill?
Oh, I love music. Like that's my number one go-to thing to relieve stress. So home, I just blast music 24/7, and that helps me a lot.
K-pop?
No K-pop.
Well, that's bringing us to the end of our show. NuckleDu, Du Dang, 19-year-old Guile Phenom, likely to be in the Capcom Cup, compete in the Capcom Cup. Thank you so much for being on the show. Any shout-outs you want to give before we let you go?
Shout-outs to Team Liquid, of course. Shout-out to all of our sponsors. Shout out to all the supporters that I have. I really appreciate you guys. And shout out to the Daily Dot for having me.
Thank you very much for being on. And shout outs to your buddy for also being on the show.
Hey, they said shout out to you.
All right, man. Well, good luck going forward. Again, thank you for being on the show. You've been watching The Best of 3, which is our weekly show. We do this every Tuesday, and we talk fighting games, and we try to bring on a guest that you will hopefully like to hear from. I'm your host, Efren Salinas. This is Michael Donka Schiller of the Leopard Print family, and Radical Ray Chun. Guys?
And of course, I'd like to note that if there's anyone you would like to see on the show, we'd love to hear that. So
Absolutely.
Leave a comment.
You can hit us up on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch the VOD on YouTube when we post this later tonight. Comment on there. Tell us what you think. And as Mike just said, let us know if there's somebody you'd like for us to get on the show. Again, you've been watching Best of 3. Thank you very much for joining us.